Good afternoon and welcome to another VLRP lesson. This is lesson number 31 for grade 9 learners. And today in English, we are going to look at pronouns and verbs. My name is Panya. I welcome you all teachers and our beloved learners. I want you to have your pens and papers ready so that you can jot down whatever you need. Why do we use pronouns? We use them to avoid the unnecessary repetition of names and to create more fluent sentences. Use pronouns. A word used in place of one or more nouns or to replace a noun. Pronouns, we use one word in place of one or more nouns, or they are used to replace the nouns. It may stand for a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. For example, instead of Vovi took a seat, Vovi immediately turned to Vovi's neighbor and introduced Vovi. She glared at Vovi. Can you see the repetition of Vovi here? Pronouns will assist us to avoid such an unnecessary repetition. You rather say or write it as, Vovi took a seat. He immediately turned to his neighbor and introduced himself. She glared at him. The neighbor glared at Vovi, so the neighbor glared at him. Note, a pronoun is not another type of noun. It is a noun substitution. There are common types of nouns or pronouns. We are not going to do all of them, but we'll focus on those common ones that you will come across during your formal assessments. Formal or informal assessment, if I may say so. The first one will be your possessive pronouns. Possessive pronoun is a pronoun that expresses possession, ownership, origin, relationship, etc. The word possessive means to possess, to own. For example, the words like mine, yours, his, hers, ours, theirs. How it is used in a sentence? That toy on the shelf is mine. That is possessive, is mine. I own it. Then we have personal pronouns. Personal pronouns are pronouns that we use to refer to people and sometimes animals. The pronouns it, they, and them can also apply to objects. These are examples of personal pronouns: I, you, she, he, it, we, they, me, us, them. I am afraid of mice. I there. They are sitting next to it. They and it there will be your personal pronouns. Let's continue with types of pronouns. We now looking at relative pronouns. Relative pronouns connect dependent clauses to independent clauses. For example, mine, yours, his, hers, ours, and theirs. Who, whom, which, what, that. I need to find a person who can read Swedish. And then reflexive pronouns. The reflexive pronouns are pronouns used as an object of a verb that refer to the same person or thing as the subject of the verb. Myself, yourself, itself, herself, himself, ourselves, themselves are examples of reflexive pronouns. They reflect. Look at the example. Ken look at himself in the mirror. Who is reflected in the mirror? Ken. That's why he can see himself in the mirror. Hence the word reflexive. Another type is indefinite pronouns. This is a pronoun that doesn't specifically identify who or what it is referring to. So it's somebody, anyone, anywhere, nothing, everybody. Then you'll be referring to indefinite pronouns. This note could have been written by anybody. Does it specifically refer to someone? No. Then we have demonstrative pronouns. These pronouns are used to point to specific things. This, that in the past, this in the present, those in the past. This in present tense, that in past tense, this in present tense, those in past tense. These are your demonstrative pronouns. This is my favorite shirt. In past tense, it would be that was my favorite shirt. So both of them, this and that, are demonstrative pronouns. Then interrogative pronouns. Now you know what does it mean to interrogate someone. It means to question the person. These pronouns are used to ask questions about unknown people or things. For example, who, whom, what, which, whose. Who wrote this letter? To whom does this letter refer? What are the contents of this letter? Which letter are you referring to? Whose letter is this? Now, there are common pronoun errors that you must be aware of when we answer the questions, and for teachers, when you teach the learners or your learners about pronouns. Using the subject form of the pronoun for the object and vice versa. For an example, me and Monique attended the same primary school. This is an error. How do you correct it? We say Monique and I attended the same primary school. The teacher gave Monique and I writing out for talking. The teacher gave Monica and me writing out for topic is the correct one. The first one, where we use Monique and I, is not correct. It's wrong. It's an error. Using reflexive pronouns ending with self as a subject or object. Myself and Kerry were asked to play for the first team. This is not how you should write it. Kerry and I were asked to play for the first team. Using the pronoun they or them when the gender is not known. For example, if a learner spoke even in no more than a whisper, Mrs. Motsaki glared at them. If a learner spoke even in no more than a whisper, Mrs. Motseka glared at him. The first one we use them and it is incorrect. So if we speaking to a person whose gender is unknown, you gotta use him. And please avoid using she or he. If the gender is unknown, please stick with he. You'll change it once we know the gender. So avoid writing he or she, him or her. Just use him throughout. And don't use they or them. Only if the gender is not known. Or if a learner spoke even in no more than a whisper, this one now is for an alternative. Mrs. Moseka glared at her. But I've already advised you. For a proper English way, please speak with him if the gender is not known. Note, the use of they or them as gender-neutral pronouns has become very common, but it is still not considered as correct use, especially in formal contexts. Remember, when you teach in class, we use formal English. That's why we are very strict on WhatsApp text or WhatsApp language. We're very strict on that. We have to stick to formal context. Using he or she or him or her instead is acceptable, but becomes clumsy when used too much, as I've already mentioned. And this is a table for the point of view, first person, second person, third person, as they relate to what? To pronouns. I won't go through it because of time, but this is what you can use in your class for practical purposes. Now let's look at verbs. What is a verb? Verbs are the action words in a sentence that describe what the subject is doing. They signify the part of the sentence which explains the action taking place. For example, he ran away. Ran is a verb. She eats chocolate. Eat is a verb. How to recognize a verb? Verbs almost always come after a noun or a pronoun. Not always, but almost always. They come after a noun or a pronoun if that is a subject. Mark, which is a noun and a subject, eats his dinner quickly. Look at the position of the verb immediately after Mark, who is a noun or which is a noun or a subject in the sentence. There are several common verbs, but we'll look at the ones that you'll normally come across. We have physical or action verbs. They describe specific physical actions. For example, Joe sat in his chair. Even when the action isn't very active, if the action is done by the body or a tool, consider it a physical verb. Then we have mental verb, those which are abstract. Their meanings are related to concepts such as discovering, understanding, thinking, or planning. For example, I know the answer. She recognized me from across the room. It's a concept, recognition. We have linking verbs. They describe conditions or situations that exist. For example, I am a student. It's a condition. We are circus performers. So it's a condition. Auxiliary or helping verbs. They are used together with a main verb to show the verb's tense or to form a question or a negative. They let the reader know when the action took place. Have, might, will. She will arrive tomorrow. Without will, it will be she arrived tomorrow morning. But now, the verb helps us to know that this sentence is in future tense, simple, present future tense, because of will. She will arrive tomorrow morning. That's why we call them helping verbs. They help the verb to show the tense in which the sentence is. Then we have phrasal verbs. They are a combination of words that are used together to take on a different meaning to that of the original verb. For example, make up, hand in, bring up, point out. Remember, we don't use hyphenate. These are not hyphenated words. Once they become a hyphenated or compound nouns, then it changes the meaning altogether. She likes to make up stories about her absence without a hyphenate. This means that she likes to lie, to cook her stories. But with a hyphen, if it becomes a hyphenated or a compound noun, she likes to make up her face, or she likes to apply makeup. With a hyphen, it becomes a different word altogether. So be careful, do not use hyphens for phrasal verbs. Then we have irregular verbs. They don't take on the regular spelling patterns of past simple and past participle verbs. For example, say, make, go, take, come, no. She comes tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. We have come to an end of our lesson 31, and I hope that you have learned something new. But before we depart, there is our strategy, the teach and assess, and that leads us to our today's quiz. Please follow the link or scan the QR code to take you to our link. Until we meet in the 4th term, I want to wish you all the best, and please enjoy your holidays while you are studying. The only time that will rest is after the 30th of November. Until we meet in the 4th term, have a wonderful afternoon and goodbye.